what I will do. It shall be a blessing springing forth in me, light in you. Shall you not know it? Shall you not see? All that you've been looking for, have if only you believe. Only just believe. A brand new season, a brand new day, a new you, a new, a new.
Good evening, and I pray to God you are doing well tonight. We have a show that is second to none, and I have invited you on here tonight for a reason and a purpose. Guess what? I am ecstatic to be alive, and I pray to God you are as well. Go ahead, tell a friend to tell a friend that Sandra's Authors Forum is on right now. Yes, we have the guest for an amazing anthology, and our guests will be introduced one by one. And our first guest will be the visionary of this project, Miss Ivy Caldwell. Can you give Ivy an amazing welcome tonight? Hello, Ivy. How are you?
Hello, Sandra. I am doing well. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much, Ivy. We're going to introduce Katrina Randolph. Hi, how are you tonight?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I am well. Welcome to Sandra's Authors Forum. And our next anthologist, she is Katrina Clark, and she has an amazing story as well. Welcome to the show.
Good evening. Hi.
All right, we have everybody here, and guess what? They're coming in already. Yes, they're excited about the show tonight. This topic is a very touching topic, and it's about loss, losing our loved ones, the people that we grew up with, we were familiar with, the people that birthed us into the world and raised us as a whole. And there comes a time in life where I often tell people, I said, we have an entry date and we have an exit date. And when that exit date comes, we're never prepared. So we're gonna engulf in this conversation tonight. And this is the anthology. You see the background. We have this anthology on Amazon, and we also have our specific links where you can purchase tonight. We would love for you to make a purchase and to enter into dialogue with us. And let's go ahead and share this broadcast. We're going to start with the visionary of this project, and her name is Ivy Caldwell. Ivy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I'm glad to be here. I am a author, speaker, coach, TV, podcast host, also a wife of 29 years, a mom of 4 sons, and I am just busy in ministry, and I love every minute of it.
Oh, I love it too, Ivy. And tell us where you're from.
Rochester, New York.
That's my birthplace. I was born there. Oh my gosh. I'm just so excited about this project, Ivy. Can you tell us how did this come to fruition?
Yes, it was 2022. Well, my mom passed away in 2021. After that happened, I went to some of the women in my church because I was the last one out of the group who had lost their mom. So I said, you know what? Let's honor our loved ones by doing this anthology. So in 2022, volume one came out, and people were reaching out to me for volume two. And this is how it has been going, and they're ready for volume three already.
I'm excited about that. Can you tell me during your process of writing your story, did you run into a difficult spot?
Not at all. Not at all. My mom was saved. I had the opportunity to be there to assist her to actually confess some things before she met her maker. And I thank God for that honor for him to use me to be able to do that for her, to get that release she needed before She closed her eyes and gave her last breath.
Now that's deep. That is so deep. And as a daughter, to be able to usher your mother into a good spot before she takes her last breath, how did how old was she?
She was 78.
Oh, that's a good age, you know. That's a really good age. My mom actually was 71 and a half. She
Mm,
passed away a month before her birthday. And so, yeah, that's a good age. Of course, we never want to see our parents leave. Do you have siblings?
yes, I have one sister and three brothers.
And we're going to fast forward because I want you to tell your story, of course, but I want to know when the day came for the funeral. Ivy, what went through your mind?
I pretty much spearheaded it. My mom had already given us her wishes.
Oh, wow.
That made it so easy. She told us, what color she wanted to wear. I mean, everything down to the last everything. So that made it easy. I was just on go. You know, we planned it, things in place, and we rolled it out. So the process was really smooth for our family.
Very good. All right. So we have these two lovely ladies here, and I'm going to call you Katrina K and Katrina C. All
Mhm.
right. That way we'll have everybody straight. When you got the call, Katrina K, to enter into this assignment, what were your first thoughts?
I was very excited at the opportunity to be able to just present my mother in love to the world, and just so people could get a glimpse of her and know her um, the way that I knew her.
Come on.
I just wanted to really honor her memory and do something, because we had such a special bond and such an awesome relationship between the two of us, and her with my mother. It was just wonderful. And I just wanted to share a piece of her with the world.
That's awesome. So, was it easy for you to write about your story?
It definitely was. She knew the Lord. She was able to share with me certain things throughout our relationship, our time together. She was able to impart spiritual things and natural things into me. She'd given birth to two boys. My brother in love, he passed before I even met my husband. So it was just the two of them for so long. And then when my husband and I got married, she just called me her daughter. It wasn't daughter-in-law, just daughter. And we just had that relationship. And it was just so easy to just speak well of her.
Very good. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where were you born?
Born and raised in Rochester, New York.
Awesome, awesome.
Mhm.
All right. So, to the audience, we have a question for you. How many loved ones have you lost? Put it in the comment section. How many loved ones have you lost? During the pandemic, we lost a lot of loved ones, and I want to check in with you to see how you're doing. How are you healing? How are you moving forward? Are you stuck? Go ahead and share with us your feelings on that. Uh, Victoria says, "Thank you so much for being transparent." Um, yes, and God only knows, and they don't take it lightly. Very good, Victoria. Thank you for that. Katrina, can you please share with us a little portion of your story? And read the page that you've chosen, and you can go ahead and read it about a paragraph to us.
Still,
Katrina R. Yeah.
oh, okay. Um, Now it has been almost 4 years since her passing. I enjoy the numerous fond memories of her. My husband, the children, and I often speak about some funny things that she would say and do. We still travel down to South Carolina to visit her gravesite as well as extended family. As Mom Lucille requested, we are keeping many of her belongings, which we will eventually pass along to our children when they are a bit older.
Wow. So this was your mother in love. And I was reading your story. Basically, she got to the point where she no longer called you daughter in love. What did she call you?
She just called me her daughter.
Yeah,
She
that,
was just Katrina, Trina,
yeah,
come over here. And she would introduce me. This is my daughter. And then people who knew her were like, okay, well, especially early in our marriage, they were like, okay, I know you had two sons. Like, who is this daughter?
right, right.
And then she would say who my husband is. And we just had that relationship.
Awesome. All right. Katrina with the C. Can you tell me about your portion of this book? What did you write about?
Sure. I wrote about my experience. My story opens up a little glimpse about my childhood and how I was deprived of having my mother in my life, and then it goes into me reuniting with my mother, and then how it was just a brief moment in time and before she passed away and left me.
And I can tell you're still feeling that loss. I was reading your story and it was very compelling. It's different from everyone in the book. You're talking about being a little girl around the age of 7 years old when you're practically snatched from your mom. Can you tap into that feeling? You just you depict it so well. You said you were used to what? Playing and games and seeing it. Nothing like the real world did you envision, but you were thrust into the real world fairly quickly, and it had a lasting effect on you. Go ahead and share that with us.
Yes, I was in the foster care system, and the last real happy childhood moment that I remember is when I was staying with another foster family. And then, unbeknownst to me, that just all of a sudden changed. My social worker came, picked me up, and went for a ride. And then I was brought to my aunt and uncle, was my biological uncle and his wife. That was around the age of 6 or 7. I think that was just before first grade when that happened. And the experience I had prior to that, I didn't have that after. I was forced into a totally different life. There was different forms of abuse that were experienced. And I just was asking several times over my lifetime, when do I get to see my mom again? When do I get to see my mom again? And I was forcefully told one time that I will never see her again. And my whole entire childhood and teenage years, I did not see her again.
That must have been very traumatic for you. I remember calling for my mom often. So when I was reading your story, it's like my heart was palpitating because the urgency of you not being wanting your mom, but you not being able to come in contact with her at all, that seemed very unfortunate for me, right? And so I put myself in your shoes, and a little tear
Oh.
is because there's nothing like a mother, right?
Right.
And
Right.
if a little child is entered into the world and she doesn't know the adult things, like you don't know, you can't comprehend why the adults are saying you can't have your mom. But you didn't stop. You said you grew up, you ended up having a daughter, and that's ironic as well. I found that very ironic that you had a daughter as well. And now you're 21 years old. You find yourself taking on that role that you so craved for.
Yes.
Wow. I
Yes.
said, wow, this is deep stuff. Because you didn't have your mom, you're in a role as a mom. How did you learn how to be a mother?
Well, one of the great things, and this is something I've been praying on lately, is I'm having like more gratefulness and gratitude about different things. Because where I am now is from a series of just different seasons of what I experienced. So even though I didn't have my mom, the household I grew up in, I still end up being the oldest of, end up being 7 children because my
aunt and uncle, they had 4, and then they got custody of my 2 brothers. So I always had that. I guess because I craved it, I just exuded it. So all the children would be around me. I'd read stories, I'd do all that. And then when my aunt had babies, the first name that they would say was my name. They wouldn't say mommy or daddy. They would say my name. So God, that motherly instinct that motherly connection that I wanted, he filled me up with it even more at such a young age. So when I had my daughter, and still to this day, children still come to me and everything. I've taken care of infants, toddlers, middle schoolers, high schoolers. There isn't any age bracket of children that I've not taken care of. So God just gave that to me.
Victoria said, how did you endure?
And it was God. I didn't know God like that at the time. I really, really didn't. But there would be times where I would just imagine. All I kept saying is, I got to get to age 18. When I get to 18, I'm out of here. When I get to 18, I'm out of here. I know I can do this. I can do that. I don't know. I did have the gift of writing. So I used to write a lot when I was younger. I would just fantasize different things. I wish I had those stories. I so wish I had those stories.
Yes.
They'd be children book #1 sellers right now if I did. But that was one of my things then at a young age was writing.
Wow. That is amazing. I could never imagine going through that, especially at such a young age.
Yeah.
There's another question. Said, how has your childhood inspired how you raised your daughter?
So my daughter, for the most part, had everything that I did not have. I was a single mom most of her life. So I worked very, very hard to give her the experience. She had friends, always did activities with the school. My daughter kind of had like a freedom to express herself because I was not able to express myself. She had a freedom to express herself to the point that people like, that's disrespectful. I'm like, no, it's not disrespect. It's her. I'm allowing her to not hold things in and to express herself and to say things. And then I would have conversations. My daughter didn't get a lot of physical discipline, unlike myself. I got a lot of physical discipline. My daughter did not do that. We had more conversations. So I was more understanding, I think, in a sense.
I can relate to that. I'm not a proponent of spankings either, although I got my fair share. Raise your hand if you've gotten your fair share of spankings. I don't think any of us is exempt from that, right?
Right.
And so I grew up not believing in doing it because I was not a hard-headed child. And I told my mom after a while when I got the concept, like, I said, Mom, just tell me what you want and I'll do it. I don't want you to whoop me. And so that's the level I tried to raise my children with, although I had 9 children, so you can only imagine. Wow. And they got some too. So I think if I were to do it all over again under different circumstances, I don't think I would. I heard a story from a little girl, and she said, I've never gotten a spanking. And I want you all to listen closely. She said, whenever I got in trouble, my mom would say to my dad, take her in the room and spank her. And she said, my dad would take me in the room and he would hit the bed and tell me to scream. And she said, I would scream bloody murder. She said, but he never whooped me. And she said, I'm grateful for that because now I don't whoop my children. I talk to them. And I think it has something to do with communication. I think had we learned how to communicate with each other, I think we would be a better people because communication is a level that needs to be worked on. Yes. What do you think?
I totally agree. And I think because of that, there was a time where I wouldn't talk a lot, but now as I progress and got older, I talk more and I demand that of people. If that's confusing for me to not be able to communicate. If you can't communicate, then to me, that's just as bad as being a child being disciplined, because that means that you don't care. You don't want us to have dialogue and exchange. When you have dialogue and exchange, that means you care about me and I'm able to express how I care about you. When we don't have that, to me, it's very confusing.
Listen to Victoria. She said, I said, yeah, you could go ahead and and speak to me. Exactly. Some children you can speak to them, and others, unfortunately, um, yeah. She said, "What's your thoughts on gentle parenting?" I'm going to ask Ivy that question.
For me, it depends on how old the child is because they all need different things from you. I mean, like if you were to tell a 2-year-old to go, sit down for a minute, that would seem like eternity to them.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And then if you have that teenager, what do? Maybe take their cell or their game or computer away. Tell them they can't go see friends. So it's different ways of disciplining your child besides spanking them. But then there comes a time when you do have to spank them, but not all the time.
Not all the time. Exactly. I'm going to go to this page 15. Page 15 is Katrina C. And she put out a warning that I feel very necessary for us to read. Katrina, you gave an important warning. You said if you have been separated from a loved one that you desire to be reconnected with, reach out to them before it's too late. Now, that's step number one. Then you went on to say, don't delay what you can do today because time waits for no one. And then you said, there may be something that you wish to say to them. Ask them a question. One more part to that, you said, ask them questions or find out how they are doing. I want to know why you felt the urgency to warn people in this book.
Because I think in hindsight now, I think God gave me my mom for those 4 years so that I could get some questions answered, so I can fill a void in my existence when you don't know who your family is. And so I worked real hard to establish that reconnection with her, really hard. I had started, this was back in the day where it used to be the show that came on TV. I can't remember what it's called, Long Lost One or something like that. I called that show and asked could I be on there, but then they were saying this price, and they said, well, if we tell your story on the air, then you could do it free. And I think about that and I let it go. But it wasn't until social media, I didn't, once Facebook came out, I didn't have to. But I feel that because I was able to do that, I'm a better individual right now. And that time could have not come. It could have not happened, and I would not have the answers. So I put in a lot of work to get that relationship going with my mother, and I did get a lot of questions answered. And it was a good healing place for me too.
So, because you don't know her story, we want you to go and get her book. Do you have your link? Let me see. I have your link, and I'm going to put it in here. Give us one moment. And this is Katrina with the C. This is her link on the screen right here. If you want to purchase her book, you want to go ahead and copy and paste that link, and you will be able to do that. We're going to put Ivy. Ivy, can you tell us what you recommend for a person that is caring for their mom or dad or grandma or grandpa or any family member for that matter? What would you recommend them to do in preparation?
I would recommend that they would talk to siblings, that you get help. You cannot do it alone. You will need breaks because it is very mentally challenging and draining to care for a loved one.
Very good. And Katrina with the K, what about you?
Can you repeat the question one more time? I had some background noise here. Sorry.
All right. Can you answer this one on the screen? Miss Rudolph, Can you explain how to get unstuck when grieving?
Yes, you have to just really be accepting of the situation. You can't change it once the person has passed away. Remember the good times. Seek out help from others if you are feeling like you're abnormally grieving or stuck in your depression, your grief, the sense of loss. Um, just it's really important to not internalize all of that by yourself. Share with others how you're feeling, and that helps a lot.
Mhm.
All right, that's very good advice. And what about you, Katrina, with the C?
It was the question about becoming unstuck in your grief.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, my mother, she's been passed away. I thought it was 8 years. It's actually 9 years
All
that she
right.
had passed away. I didn't get my healing until last year.
Oh, wow.
Every February, I would be outrageously sick and depressed. I mean, I would do what I need to do to live and everything, but I would be so sick, and sometimes I just couldn't move. But I got professional help, and I had delayed getting professional help, thinking I'm going to be okay and everything. But once I got professional help this year, when I wrote my story, it was easy for me to write the story. It was easy for me to pull out the good. It was easy for me to tell the bad and not be like so distraught about it. But that professional help really got me to the next level of healing that I needed.
Yes, and we want to reiterate that therapy is very good because they are trained um, and in their field, they're very skilled to work you through and navigate you through your healing. And the question about being stuck, when you're stuck, you probably can't do the healing that you need on your own. You need someone to intervene so you can navigate through life. Sometimes you become paralyzed with grief. And if you're paralyzed with grief, then everybody around you can tell and they feel for you. And it's like you're dead, but you're alive. You know, it's like The Walking Dead, right?
Mhm.
All right. So there's a question. Can you recommend some therapist companies for the people? That's good. We'll give you a minute to put it in the chat and then we'll share that. That's an excellent question. Here's a question for Ivy. Miss Ivy, can you speak to the caregivers who feel guilty for getting tired while caregiving after parents, siblings, and children?
You have to take care of yourself. You won't be any good to your loved one if you are burnt down and exhausted from taking care of them. And you do have to take breaks from being a caregiver. I mean, if you think about it, in the hospital, I mean, nurses and doctors, they work on shifts. I mean,
Right.
there is no way you can take care of someone for 24/7. You have to get help. And don't feel guilty because you do have to take care of yourself.
Very good. And this is Ivy's link. If you would like to purchase a book from Ivy Caldwell, this is her website. You can go on there, copy and paste that, and go on there. You will be able to make your purchase. I am also in this book. Oh my gosh. And I had the golden opportunity of writing about 4 of my loved ones that I lost. And on the interview, I shared about 3 of them. And so today I'll just speak about my dad. My dad was, he came from down south. He had a large family. He was the baby boy. And he married my mom because they moved from down south of Arkansas to Detroit, Michigan, where they went to Greater Bethlehem Temple Church, Clinton Street, which was the headquarters. He met my mom, they married, and they moved from Detroit. And she was pregnant with me when they moved to Rochester, New York.
Behold, see what I will do. It shall be a blessing springing forth in May, light in you. Shall you not know it? Shall you not see all that you